I can confirm that it is 4 p.m. and we are now live streaming and recording.
All right, good afternoon. We do have a quorum present. Ms. Assistant Secretary, would you please read the land recognition statement?
Sure. First, I'll begin with that both the chair and the vice chair are unable to attend today's meeting. Member McCann has indicated his willingness to serve as acting chair, and we are seeking a motion from the committee to appoint him for the duration of today's meeting. So if I could ask the committee for a motion to appoint Member McCann as acting chair for this meeting.
Motion to appoint Colin
Thank you.
as chair of the meeting.
And a seconder?
I second.
Thank you. So moving on to the land recognition statement. The town of Pelham is situated on treaty land steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Ha-de-Wenderong, Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island live and work in Niagara. The town of Pelham stands in solidarity with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, acknowledging that our high standard of living is a result of the resources and lasting friendship of Indigenous peoples. Through you, Mr. Chair, you may proceed with your introduction.
Thank you. And introduce who's present here today. Again, my name is Colin McCann. I will be acting as chair for this meeting. To my far right is member Sue Sarko. Next to her, Brenda Stan. To my immediate right, Assistant Secretary Treasurer Jody LeGros. Representing staff this afternoon, Town Clerk Sarah Leach. I have Jim Ledsma from the engineering technician, and Shannon LaRock, the planning manager. This is a hybrid meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the Town of Pelham. Everyone present and viewing at home via live stream will be given an opportunity to comment on the application being heard this afternoon. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed should an application be approved. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. During the public portion of each application, we will hear from anyone wishing to submit verbal comments or submit a written comment via an email to clerks@pelham.ca. Comments received following the public portion will not be considered. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions may be determined by the committee following the hearing. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant/agent and members of the public that have submitted comments. Notices of decision can also be obtained by request to the Secretary Treasurer. Committee members are asked to raise your hand if you would like to speak and vote. Applicants, agents, and attendees are advised that they are free to leave the webinar once a decision has been made on their application. And we'll move on to the item 4 of the agenda. Committee members, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda. I second.
And we'll have a vote.
Yes. Yes.
And yes.
Thank you.
Also, does any member of the panel have a pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, if any of the applications to be considered at this hearing?
I have none. I have none.
And I also have none.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Assistant Secretary Treasurer, are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there has not been any requests for withdrawal or adjournment.
And we have an agenda item today for the appointment of a Secretary Treasurer. Ms. Assistant Secretary Treasurer, could you please read the motion for appointment?
Thank you. We have a motion that pursuant to Section 448, subsection 8 of the Planning Act, Sarah Leach be appointed to the Town of Pelham Committee of Adjustment as Secretary Treasurer, and that the Committee of Adjustment reaffirm Jody LeGros as Assistant Secretary Treasurer.
And I will require a mover and seconder for this.
I can move that motion?
I second.
And a vote?
Yes.
And yes.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Assistant Secretary Treasurer, could you please read the summary presentation for our first application this afternoon?
Yes. Just wait for it to pop up there. Okay. The Town of Pelham is holding hybrid Committee of Adjustment hearings. A hearing involves a mixture of in-person and remote attendance and participation. The following presentations are based upon the Town of Pelham's Planning Department report and analysis. Please note that no decisions have been made prior to this hearing. All comments received from commenting agencies and the public have been forwarded in full to the Committee of Adjustment members for their consideration, and they will appear summarized on the slides to follow. Decorum. The Committee of Adjustment is a formal public hearing requiring decorum, meaning all comments are to be made through the chair. If you have pre-registered to speak virtually or are participating in person, you'll be given an opportunity to address the committee at the public portion of the meeting. Please keep comments concise. If you are live streaming and wish to submit a comment live, please email clerks@pelham.ca. Please note, comments must be received during the public portion of the meeting, otherwise they will not be considered. Inappropriate comments are not tolerated. If decorum is lost, the meeting may be recessed and persons will be asked to leave. We will now proceed with our first presentation. Application number B8-2025P, application for consent for 1629 Pelham Street, Part 1. Application is made for consent to partial discharge of mortgage and consent to convey 1,635 square meters of land, being Part 1, for future construction of a single detached dwelling. Part 2 is to be retained for continued residential use of the property known as 1629 Pelham Street. To date, the following comments have been received. Building, see the associated minor variance file for comments. Public Works, see conditions. Niagara Escarpment Commission commented that no approvals are required from their office, provided the proposed height of the new single dwelling is in keeping with the surrounding community character. Niagara Escarpment Commission staff would have no concerns or comments. Planning staff are of the opinion that the consent application is consistent with the provincial planning statement and conforms with official plan and meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Planning staff recommend that application B8-2025P be approved subject to the following conditions. That the applicant sign the Town of Pelham Standard Memorandum of Understanding explaining that development charges and cash in lieu of the dedication of land for park purposes are required prior to the issuance of a building permit. Obtain a driveway access and culvert permit from the town for construction of a driveway or modifications to any existing driveway or entrance, and complete it in accordance with town standards. Individually service Part 1 with its own sanitary and water connections in accordance with the town engineering standards. Installation of any services will require a temporary works permit. These works are to be completed prior to consent, and the applicant shall bear all costs associated with these works. Locate cards are to be provided to the town once works are complete and full road width restoration is required on Pelham Street. Confirm that no existing utilities currently cross the proposed new property line. Should any services cross this new property line, the applicant will be responsible for costs associated with the relocation and/or removal. Submit an overall lot grading and drainage plan to demonstrate that the drainage does not negatively impact nor rely on neighboring properties. Provide the Secretary Treasurer with a registrable legal description of the subject parcel, together with a copy of the deposited reference plan, if applicable, for use in the issuance of the certificate of consent. Provide the final certification fee of $445 to the town of Pelham. Conduct a Stage 2 archaeological assessment for the entire lands for Part 1 prepared by a licensed archaeologist and receive clearance from the Ministry of Culture and Multiculturalism. Prepare, submit, and implement a tree protection plan. To you, Mr. Chair, the agent, Mr. Nicholas Godfrey from Upper Canada Consultants, is with us today.
Mr. Godfrey, would you step forward? I understand you have a presentation as well. There, is that better?
Through you, Mr. Chair, my name is Nicholas Godfrey. I'm a senior planner with Upper Canada Consultants. Is there a way to raise this? No? Yeah?
Just use the down there.
Great, thank you.
You might need to scroll.
I'm representing the owners, Robert and Annette Mastracci, for the subject consent minor variance application. And I just want to give you a short presentation, giving a high overview of what the applications are all about. So 1629 Pelham Street is on the north end of the urban boundary in Fonthill, and it's on the east side of Pelham Street. It's approximately 4,095 meters squared with a lot frontage of 70.45 meters. And the subject lands are within the urban living area and built boundary as per the official plan and zoned residential R1 in the zoning bylaw. Actually, I'm going to skip ahead too quickly there. So the requested use is permitted in both the official plan and the zoning bylaw. We're looking to construct a single detached dwelling on the proposed lot, and with the remnant lot being a single detached dwelling as well. So here you can see the proposed lot on the north end and the retained lot on the south end. The proposed lot will have an area of 1,635 meters squared with a 20.4 meter lot frontage, and the retained lot will have an area of 2,462 meters squared and a lot frontage of 32.24 meters. So the minor variance is to permit a front yard setback of 16.6 meters. And this is in keeping with the character of the area. Many of the homes in this area have these larger setbacks, and the way we've designed it is actually mirroring what is occurring on both the east and west sides of Pelham, particularly the northern neighbor and the southern neighbor, the northern neighbor and the remnant lot, which will soon to be the southern neighbor. And additionally, the clients who are not here today are intending to live in the proposed lot, and they feel more comfortable having this reduced setback given that there is a slight curve to the hill there, and they feel more comfortable pulling in and out of the site with that better ease of access and better sight lines coming in and going from the site. So that is my presentation. I've kept it short, and I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Before moving. Yeah. This Assistant Secretary Treasurer, is anyone pre-registered to speak via Zoom?
Mr. Chair, we do not have any pre-registered speakers.
Is there anyone present in the room who wishes to speak on this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my name is Donald Cook. I live at 1632 Pelham Street, which is directly across the road from the proposed severance. I have a couple of questions, and probably the most important question is I noticed in the planning report that a archaeological study is required for the severed parcel. I would like to ask a question to the gentleman from Upper Canada, Mr. Chairman, if possible. Maybe he might be able to answer it, maybe not. do I have your permission to ask?
No, you address your question to me, and then I'll call upon the
The question
representative.
I have is the creation of the original lot, basically the lot that's being severed. I've lived in the town of Pelham for well over 50 years, and I watched this subdivision across the road. It was the Giles Farm back then. It was developed by River Realty, and I know that at the time of prior to registration, an archaeological study was done for the entire subdivision. So I was quite interested in the reasoning why either Upper Canada Consultants or the surveyor that did this, I wasn't able to find the registered plan that probably created this particular lot. And my question is, how was this lot created originally?
Okay, did you say you had more than one question? And-
It's basically one question. How was
Okay.
the original lot created? In other words, the lot being severed today.
Okay. All right. All right, maybe the representative can now step forward and,
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have the record of when this was created. We've deferred to town staff for the archaeological report. That was a requirement made by staff, and so we're fulfilling that requirement. There was an original concept sketched out on the site where we did a stage 1-2 archaeological assessment for part of the site, but the concept changed. Now we've been requested to do the whole site. We don't have an objection with that. The date of the lot creation, maybe there's a ministry clearance letter for this site, and that would actually be helpful for application, but I don't know that it's pertinent necessarily to the application today, the date of when it was created. These would have been different policies, different regulations, and we're just abiding by the regulations as they stand currently.
okay.
Thank you. I do support the conveyance, and I also support the variance. I think it's a good use of the land. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and continue with your deliberations on this.
Thank you very much. And before we pass on that question, I'm just going to ask if Ms. LaRocque has any insight into the questions the gentleman has raised.
Mr. Chair, I do not have a date as to when the current lot was created. That is something we could look up, but I don't have it at my fingertips right now. Likewise with the archaeological, whether there's a date in which something like that was provided in the past, that's something we can search our records for. If such a thing exists, then we can clear the condition.
Right, so as I understand it, if such a survey or assessment exists, it may satisfy, but in either event, there has to be an assessment to the satisfaction of staff.
That's correct.
Okay.
And to the satisfaction of the province. So it's that clearance letter that we require.
Okay, thank you. Madam Assistant Secretary, is there any comments, questions having been submitted by email?
No, sorry. So I was just reviewing an email. The applicant actually reached out, just that they were present and watching via Zoom. And other than that, no comments. So I can confirm that it is 4:18 p.m. and we have received no other emails, and therefore we'd be looking for a motion to close the public portion of the meeting and move to the committee's input.
Yep, I need a motion to close the public portion of the meeting then?
Motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Second?
And a vote?
Yes?
Yes.
And yes. Okay, with the public portion of the meeting closed, ask if the members present have any questions for the planner? Sorry, the agent?
I have none.
I have a question related to the variance, but I'll save it for the variance. So I can do the motion if you'd like?
Yes, if you would, please.
Okay, file B8, 2025P, 629 Pelham Street. Application for consent to convey Part 1 be granted, subject to the following conditions. To the satisfaction of Public Works, obtain a driveway access and culvert permit from the town for the construction of a new driveway or any modifications to the existing driveway's entrance. Individually service Part 1 with its own sanitary and water connections in accordance with the Town of Pelham engineering standards. Confirm that no existing utilities currently cross the proposed new property line. Submit an overall lot grading and drainage plan to demonstrate that the drainage does not negatively impact nor rely on neighboring properties. To the satisfaction of planning, sign the town's memorandum of understanding explaining that development charges and cash in lieu of the dedication of land for park purposes are required. Conduct a stage 1-2 archaeological assessment for the entire lands for Part 1 by a licensed archaeologist. Prepare, submit, and implement a tree protection plan. To the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, provide a registerable legal description and deposited reference plan. Provide a final certification fee of $445. This decision is based on the following reasons. The application conforms to and complies with the town's official plan, regional policy plan, and provincial planning statement and the town zoning bylaw. This decision is rendered having regard to sections 5124 and 5125 of the Planning Act. The committee considered all written and oral submissions and finds that, subject to the condition this application meets Planning Act criteria, is consistent and complies with provincial, regional, and town planning policy.
And a seconder?
I second.
And a vote.
Yes.
And yes. With that, we'll move on to the variance application. And Madam Assistant Secretary, would you read the presentation?
Thank you. File A8-2025P for 1629 Pelham Street. Excerpts from the planning report. The subject parcel has a frontage of 20.4 meters on the east side of Pelham Street, lying north of Short Hill Place. The application seeks relief from Section 6.1.2, zone requirements for a single detached dwelling, maximum front yard, to permit a maximum front yard setback of 16.6 meters, whereas the bylaw permits 6 meters. Building comments. A building permit will be required following planning approval. Public Works, see conditions, and no public comments were received at the time of writing the report. Minor variance test. Test 1, the variance is minor in nature. Yes, the impact on the surrounding neighborhood and adjacent properties is negligible. The intent of the front yard setback regulation is generally to ensure a consistent streetscape, maintain pedestrian orientation, and support urban design objectives. In this case, the proposed setback is in keeping with the prevailing pattern of development along this stretch of Pelham Street, where larger front yard setbacks are common. The proposed setback does not create adverse impacts on adjacent properties in terms of privacy. The siting of the new dwelling is consistent with existing development and will not be visually disruptive. Test 2, is the variance desirable for the development or use of land? Yes, a front yard setback of 16.6 meters allows the new dwelling to integrate well into the streetscape, which is characterized by deeper front yards. A maximum 6-meter setback would result in a dwelling that is significantly forward of its neighbors, potentially disrupting the rhythm of the streetscape and diminishing character. Locating the dwelling further back on the lot may also offer functional benefits such as enhanced landscaping opportunities and an improved interface with adjacent properties. From an urban design perspective, the proposal respects and reinforces the character of the area, which is a key objective of appropriate development. Test 3, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes, the variance upholds the broader intent by aligning the new dwelling with the existing pattern of development on adjacent and nearby lots. By permitting a greater setback, the proposal avoids the future dwelling projecting greater into the front yard relative to neighboring homes. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes. The subject property is designated urban living area in the official plan. The proposed variance facilitates an appropriate form of intensification within the built-up area, contributing to housing supply while supporting existing municipal infrastructure and services. Permitting the increased front yard setback facilitates a design that is contextually appropriate and contributes to a cohesive streetscape. Based on the analysis, staff are of the opinion the required minor variance application conforms to the general policies and intent of both the official plan and zoning bylaw and are appropriate for the development and use of the land. Planning staff recommend that application A8-2025P be approved, subject to the following conditions: that the applicant prepare, submit, and implement a tree protection plan to the satisfaction of the Director of Community Planning and Development, submit an overall lot grading and drainage plan to demonstrate that the drainage does not negatively impact nor rely on neighboring properties to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works, that the approval of the minor variance is subject to consent file B8-2025P, obtaining final approval. And to you, Mr. Chair, the agent, Mr. Godfrey, is with us.
Mr. Godfrey, do you have anything you'd like to add to this application?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I kind of already covered it in my earlier presentation, which addressed both the consent and minor variance, and I'm just available for questions if you have any.
Okay. Ms. Assistant Secretary Treasurer, is anyone pre-registered to speak via Zoom?
We do not have any pre-registered speakers, and
Okay.
you may wish to open it up to the gallery.
Is anyone in the gallery wishing to comment on this application? And finally, Ms. Assistant Secretary Treasurer, do we have any comments submitted by email?
Okay. Mr. Chair, I can confirm it is 4:27 PM, and we have received no emails, and therefore looking for a motion to close the public portion and move to your committee input.
Motion to close the public portion of the meeting?
I second.
And quick vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. Public portion closed. Does any member have any comments or questions for the agent?
Through the chair, I just have one question in terms of, I don't have any concerns with the variance, but I was wondering about the setback for the dwelling at 1633, the detached dwelling to the north. Do you know what the setback is of that dwelling?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have the figures memorized, but it's very close to what we've set for our setback, so it's 16 to 17 meters. We are within a meter or so, or half a meter, of the dwelling to the north.
Okay, great. That answers my question. Thank you.
I just have one question. The one concern that was raised by the Escarpment Committee regarding the height of the structure to go on the lot that we've just approved. Is it going to be inconvenient? The Escarpment Committee was concerned it was going to be, its only reservation was as to the height of the building. I know it's only a single-family residential, but just to confirm that the height will be in keeping with the neighboring properties.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the height in the zone is 12 meters, so we won't be going any higher than what's permitted in the zoning.
Okay, good. That's my only question. I guess we're ready. Someone to read the motion to accept?
File A8 2025P, 1639 Pelham Street, Pelham. Applications are made for minor variance of max front yard of 16.6 meters. The application is granted for the following reasons. The variances are minor in nature, as adverse impacts are not anticipated. Proposed setback is in keeping with pattern of development along Pelham Street. The intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the official plan is maintained. The proposals are desirable for the land as the front yard setback allows the new dwelling to integrate into the streetscape. Locating the dwelling further back on the lot may also offer functional benefits such as enhanced landscaping opportunities and an improved interface with adjacent properties. This application is granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. The Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act tests for minor variance. Conditions are prepare, submit, and implement a tree protection plan, obtain final approval of B8-2025P, and submit an overall lot grading and drainage plan.
And I second the motion.
And a vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. Moving on to our agenda item 10, minutes for approval. I'm looking for a motion to approve the May 5th, 2025 minutes.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Thank you.
I second.
And a vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. And to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, and everyone in agreement?
Yes.
This meeting is adjourned.